Welcome, everybody, to another exciting edition of US Law Live, US Law's official podcast brought to you by our amazing corporate sponsors. I'm Mike Judy from the Dicer Taylor firm in Kansas City, and with me this morning I have my wonderful co-host, Pam Halford from the Carr Allison firm in Dothan, Alabama. Hello, Pam.
Hi, Mike. I love the way that you say that.
I try my
Although
best.
today I am not coming to you from Dothan, Alabama. I am coming to you from Napa Valley, California with my US Law transportation buddies. And I am looking forward to a very long and productive day of all things trucking and wine.
Well, and a special shout out to you, Pam, because it is very early on the West Coast, and you were kind enough to wake up early because our guest this morning is from the East Coast, and our guest is Taylor Brewer from the Moran Reeves Con firm in Richmond, Virginia. Good morning, Taylor.
Good morning. Good morning, Mike, and good morning, Pam.
How are you doing
Hey,
this morning?
Taylor.
I'm doing well. I was 12 hours ago, I was actually on mountain time in Denver, Colorado. I was attending a trucking conference and all sorts of flight delays on the way home, but made it home at about 2 o'clock this morning. And thanks to some caffeine, I'm ready to go.
Well,
I
you
mean,
and me
aren't
are in the same boat, Taylor.
That's right. That's right. Although you're
yeah,
in beautiful Napa.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah, you definitely have a better place to wake up to than the two of us, Pam. As much as I love Kansas City.
Speaking of loving Kansas City, I was talking to somebody the other day about like fun places to visit in the US, and I was like, Kansas City is really underrated. I would
I'm
highly
telling you.
recommend.
I
Have you
and
been to Kansas City, Taylor?
I have never been, although I would love to come see y'all in the flyover state. Mike, I think you work with Mandy, right? Mandy
I
Ketchum.
I do. And you said that right. I work not with Mandy, but for Mandy, like we all do.
She's one of my favorite people that I've met through the USLAW Women's. We
Yeah.
we love talking all things running and kids and all of that.
Okay.
Um, Taylor, how long have you been coming to women's?
So I've gone to three women's. The first was in Vail and then Asheville, North Carolina. And this year, as you know, we just got back from Quebec.
We did. What a good trip. Mike was jealous.
I was very jealous. Pam always wants to find a way to sneak me into somebody's suitcase so I can come hang out, but not allowed.
Well, Mike, I don't think we've met in person. I hadn't been to any other events besides women's until this year in Frisco. So I only knew women in US law.
Well, as some of Pam is too nice to say this, but Jessica Dark, one of our other co-hosts, would say it if she was on here, which is I'm basically a woman, so I think I can say that.
I wouldn't say that, but I would have said the women are the only people you need to know, Taylor.
That's I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Fair.
So Taylor,
But
tell us a little bit about your background, your practice. I know you do some trucking work, also do a little bit of med mal. So kind of give us your journey into both of those worlds.
Sure. So I've been a lawyer for 14 years now, passed the bar in 2011, and I've been a medical malpractice attorney mostly until my colleague, my law partner Ashley Winsky just joined our firm here in Richmond and brought her trucking defense practice over and asked me to help out. And so I am thrilled to be exploring the world of trucking, certainly not leaving MedMal, but any tort-based defense work that's going to land me in the courtroom, I'm happy about, and learning all the rules of the road, pun intended.
So,
have you
and was
been?
that a transition something that were you able to use any of those skills? I mean, obviously we're all litigators, courtroom skills track, but anything in particular with your med mal background that you thought was useful to the trucking work you do?
That's a good question. We work a lot with experts, medical experts, in both industries. Of course, focusing mostly on damages in the trucking world, where you're focusing on all of the elements, the negligence and liability, standard of care, and in the medical malpractice arena. But I got my feet wet as a baby lawyer trying cases for Geico. Um, we were headquartered in Virginia Beach at the time, and there was a big Geico headquarters there, and the camel would come every Wednesday for hump day. And we had geckos, and it was really, all of that was really cool. But I got to learn how to try accident cases. And so that has translated really well, of course, into trucking.
Were you like an in-house captive counsel for Geico, or was your firm just doing a bunch of work for them?
The former. So I was Geico staff counsel, and all we did was deny it and try it
Oh, and you probably had what, like 150 files on your desk at any given time?
easily.
So what got you into med mal? Was that something that in law school you knew that you wanted to do, or was it just the nature of getting to the firm you're at now?
You know, I love the medicine part of it. I went, like I think many of us did, to college thinking I would go to medical school and quickly realized that chemistry and math and physics were not my strong suit, but reading and writing and oral presentation were. And so I thought, how can I combine these strengths, leverage the strengths, let go of the weaknesses? And so I took a few classes with some health lawyers in the Charlotte area. I went to college at Davidson in North Carolina, and really enjoyed it. And so the rest is history.
Yeah, you're
Taylor, that's
one of
what,
those lawyers like me where I grew up watching ER and Grey's Anatomy. I'm like, I can be a doctor. This is real easy. All I need to do is yell stat a lot. And then
That's
once I
right.
actually started taking classes, I'm like, nope, can't do this.
Exactly. Well, and I've sort of found a niche within medical malpractice, a little bit of a subspecialty, if you will, in correctional medicine. So that brings in and draws in the federal claims like deliberate indifference, 1983 cases. And so I do a good bit of representing healthcare providers in jails and prisons, which is a very
Oh, wow.
interesting area. Yeah.
wow, that is very interesting. I too, well, I wanted to be a med mal lawyer when I came out. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I never thought about the doctor route, but the lawyer that I was working with as a clerk, who was a med mal lawyer, told me that it would behoove me to go to nursing school or to medical school and then become a med mal attorney so that I had an understanding of the medicine and could use that as the baseline and then take it to the law and then be able to give it to the jury in a digestible way. And truly, as soon as he said that, I was like, I do not want to work that hard. Where are the trucks?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Pam. We have some awesome nurse paralegals at our firm. So they decided they didn't want to do bedside anymore and they're helping us out. They are amazing. Their expertise is invaluable. But if I had not gone to law school, maybe I would have gone to nursing school. And I would be curious for your thoughts, Pam, on taking a CDL course in trucking. Have you ever considered becoming a commercial driver?
Yes, I have. I've never done it. But especially early on in my career, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself like a standout in this industry by, becoming an expert, becoming a CDL driver, going to like the actual truckers conferences and like all these things. And, the best laid plans, I just never had time to get that accomplished. And I will say, like when I started doing it, I was such a baby that I mean, I was going on all the inspections. I was going out with the experts and I was having them get me under the truck with them and showing me the brake stroke and different debris and what that looked like and how you could sort of back into some things, looking at skid marks, yaw marks, gouges, things like that. So I I used the experts to help educate me a pretty good bit, but I do think that the CDL course wouldn't be a bad thing to do in all your spare time, Taylor.
Right. There's tons of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, it's interesting talking about law school. Sort of the model of our podcast is to have our guests bring us a hot topic that they're seeing in their world right now. And so we're sitting here talking about law school and what all we wanted to do and how we ended up there. And you mentioned something to Mike and I earlier that I thought was interesting, and that was that Virginia has seen such a decline in, was it law school applicants or graduates?
Well, it's bar takers really is
Okay.
the
Okay.
problem. I think in 2022 or maybe 2023, and we'll have to fact check this, but over 2,000 people sat for the bar, and then last year it was 800 and some change.
Hmm.
So there's definitely a decline, and the Virginia State Bar is taking it very seriously and has commissioned a group to look at all of the reasons for the decline and the implications on the practice throughout the state. And it's interesting. I think the board of bar examiners is going to be making some changes. I think the bar is this week as we speak. The folks might be sitting for the bar out in Roanoke, Virginia. Um, but Virginia's bar is unique in a few respects, and I think that the bar examiners are trying to make it more uniform and consistent with the rest of the states in the country so that people can more easily go between states. I mean, that's what people want to do these days is have the flexibility to move. So I think that's one of the main areas they're looking at. But one of the problems with having so few lawyers, that having a lawyer shortage, is that the underserved population, particularly out in the southwest part of the state where it's more rural, there's going to be an even bigger justice gap. So justice gap meaning those who need legal representation but can't afford it. And so there are lots of the studies are looking at the implications on the need for pro bono attorneys in those rural areas.
So is that then getting folks in the more populated areas of Virginia that are they taking on more of those pro bono cases and then having to travel, across the state or to different part of the states to handle it?
That's the goal, right, Mike? I mean, unfortunately, not everyone participates in pro bono, and I'm the pro bono chair of Moran Reeves, and so I try to encourage everyone to do some sort of pro bono, although that's not where we are. And everyone is busy. I get it. Busyness is probably the number one impediment to doing pro bono, but the professional rules say we should devote 2% of our time annually to pro bono of some sort. And I think that there's definitely a need. A lot of remote opportunities are allowing those of us in the cities on the East Coast to kind of reach the Southwest part. But there's some travel in there too, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard enough I'm sure with the shortage, in addition to just, it's very difficult to find, new associates, new attorneys, people are job hopping. And I'd imagine that, the pro bono shortage just magnifies that if you have less lawyers, looking or less lawyers available for jobs, then more firms are competing for them. And then it's harder to get, when you can't find a lawyer, then the ones that are already overworked, now it's harder for them to devote time to pro bono and it just snowballs.
That's exactly right. So more lawyers, bring on all the lawyers to Virginia.
So yeah, what's your pitch to get people to take the Virginia bar and become a lawyer in Virginia? Because I know I would fail at it trying to talk anybody into going to law school.
I know, right? It's so different these days. Well, you get to dress up for the bar exam. You have to
Yeah,
wear.
I was going to ask you, Taylor, what are the differences with the Virginia bar? I remember I had a law school classmate who was from Virginia, and she took the Virginia bar, and I remember her having to wear like a long skirt. If is that right?
That is right. It's these antiquated rules that require the full business formal for the bar exam, and you have
No.
to wear like rubber soled shoes so that as you walk around the room, you're not distracting anyone. And so you've got these guys going out and buying, I think your dress shoes, Mike, right? Don't they click on the floors?
Yeah.
Yes, you've
Yeah.
got guys going out and buying new shoes for the bar exam, and it's a little crazy, but it's all part of the fun.
I don't know if I mean I would probably walk out of a bar exam if I was required to wear business formal. I mean, I dressed like I was a homeless person when I took the bar.
Right. I think that's the most comfortable.
Exactly.
Taylor, how's y'all's reciprocity rules?
Well, they're not good, Pam. And so that's part of the problem is that if you come to Virginia, you're not going to be able to have reciprocity with many other states. And so the bar is looking at that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I remember, and we talked a little bit about this, that you and I have some similarities in that we are in the 1% land for contributory negligence. And
That's
I
right.
wonder, in Alabama, the 1% land is really just a dream world, because that's the way the law is written. But you virtually never get summary judgment on contributory negligence, because the standard's higher. And then once the jury gets it, they find a way to let the plaintiff recover because they don't want to zero out an injured plaintiff. So that's the way it works for us. How about with y'all?
Very similar, Pam. Contrib is sort of this fictitious thing. We don't see it a lot in medical malpractice. And so I am excited about maybe trying it a little bit more in the trucking world.
Mhm.
But it is very difficult. Judges and juries have a hard time, barring a otherwise deserving plaintiff from recovery if they are only 1% at fault for whatever happened. And I've actually had a judge in the general district court. So that's our lower level. The jurisdictional limit is $50,000 in GDC. I've tried a case in GDC and motor vehicle accident, and the judge looked at me and he said, "Well, I do think the plaintiff contributed to this accident, but I'm going to let him recover anyway." So, I mean, that's a judge putting on the record, if you will, that they're choosing not to observe contributory
And
negligence. But
are juries and judges taking care of that on the back end though with the damage awards that like we're going to give them something, but instead of $1 million, we're going to give them 25.
I would like to think so, Mike. But we're seeing the nuclear verdicts up here as well. Do y'all have that in Kansas and Alabama?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
so
it's terrible.
Yeah.
our our juries do take care of it, Mike, on the back end. Like they say, "Oh, well, we wanted to give them 25 million, and so now we'll give them 10." But that makes it super difficult for the clients that I'm representing and for myself to appropriately evaluate the case because we believe that it should be a zero. And
Yeah,
that's also what the jury has essentially concluded is that it should be a zero based on the
yeah.
law. And so they
Well,
don't have any guidelines by which to make that reduction. So, Taylor, as you move more into your trucking practice, I would suggest to you if you're going to do this, is what I do, at least in my practice, if you're going to make a strong run at a contrib argument in a state where it's technically supposed to work as a bar, I try to mock it and I try to mock it with more than once so that I get a good panel perspective. Like if I can have six panels, then I feel like I can get a really good cross section of how are they going to work this reduction in the event that we don't get a full defense verdict. Because, I mean, the 1% rule sounds great, sounds lovely, sounds wonderful, but then you get into practice and they're doing comparative analysis without any guidelines on how to do the comparative analysis. So it's just truly bananagrams out here.
well, and that's I found when I first heard that when Taylor was talking about it, I was like, that would be amazing to go to a jurisdiction like that. And again, in my small sized brain, did not think through some of the other things that we've been talking about. So that's fascinating.
Well, and Pam, you mentioned summary judgment. We don't have summary judgment at the state court level. I mean, you can try it with federal rules, obviously, but we don't, in Virginia, you don't really, you can move for summary judgment, but it's very rare.
Hmm.
Wow. It's a matter of course for us. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you haven't filed a motion for summary judgment, everybody's like, What? You're going
Interesting.
to trial?" Um, but that issue never, trying to think if I've ever gotten, I don't think I've ever gotten a summary judgment granted based on contrib in an accident case.
Right. They want to
It's
leave it
just
for the jury.
So rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Mike, you usually head off our third segment with some really great probing questions.
I
So,
mean, yes. I mean, so Taylor, you kind of started off with your relationship with Mandy and talking about running and talking about the kiddos. So, what kind of runner are you? Are you a marathoner? Are you just a run for exercise, a run to de-stress, all of it?
Well, I've done one marathon. I checked that box and I will never do it again, Mike. I love the half marathon is my distance. And in Richmond, it's called the friendliest marathon, but it really is great. The energy is great. It's every November. And so I've done that for, I don't know, maybe 15 years now. And my goal is to keep doing it as long as I can. But my doctor says, I'm about to turn 40 in October, and my doctor says I've got to be lifting weights. So that's the new focus.
So, when you're running, are you a podcast listener, a music? I mean, what are you doing to kind of keep your mind off of the running? That's how I approach running, is I
Mike,
don't like driving 13 miles. So, if I have to run, I need to distract myself with something.
Mike, what are you asking? Did you mean to specifically ask Taylor when you're running, how many episodes of the US Law Live podcast are you listening to? Because I know that's what Taylor's listening to.
Isn't that what I said?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. We'll edit that back in later, and we'll just put Pam's
Absolutely.
Perfect.
voice over mine.
No, if I
So,
wish I could
yeah.
run with I wish I could run with a notepad because I do listen to the US Law podcast, and I think it was Allison Sauceman gave some really good tips on one recently. I'm going to try to subpoena all the fitness gadgets and the golf apps for my plaintiffs, and there was someone else, maybe the first or second podcast, who said to be where your feet are planted. Do y'all remember that
Hmm.
Yeah,
one? So
that
Yep.
was Jen Tricker.
Jen, that's
Be
right.
where be where your feet are.
So trying to take all of these good tidbits I'm learning from US Law Podcast.
Yeah. And then you
When did
have three kids.
I have three kids. They are just turned 4, 6, and 8. So it is a fun, busy season. As you know, right, Mike, you have kids?
Four boys.
Oh, wow.
Taylor, when does school
Yeah.
start?
School starts for us the week before Labor Day.
Oh my gosh, that's late. Mike, y'all are late too, right?
Our kids start mid-August. I think they start the whatever that 18th, 19th, whatever that Monday is.
Adeline starts next week.
Oh,
That's
wow.
early.
Uh-huh. I I guess so.
I
Um,
mean, down there in Alabama, they need to get all that education they can.
well, I think maybe that's the problem. Our education is so terrible down in Alabama. They're like, I mean, give them a few extra weeks. It can't hurt.
Oh, no. Well,
Uh, so
Um,
bo boys or girls, Taylor?
so girl, girl, boy. And I was very surprised. I thought a baby's a baby, a toddler's a toddler. I am surprised by the innate gender differences. I mean, they really do exist. And my 4-year-old son is so much more physical. He gravitated towards the cars and the trucks and the dinosaurs, whereas my girls went to the Barbies and playing dress up and makeup. And it's really interesting to see. I feel like those traits are innate.
Yeah. Well, be prepared to have your house destroyed and smell terrible and just the lack of any sort of common sense with your youngest because boys are just dumb. They're just so dumb.
I mean, I'll agree with you there, Mike, but also your children are truly the loveliest, kindest, most polite young men ever. I don't know how in the world you're saying all this.
Well, that's what it's like. We've got show children and then we've got like backstage children, and they know to be show children when they are around people. And then backstage, it's like the aftermath of a Guns N' Roses concert. There's just stuff everywhere. There's just chaos.
That's
Well,
funny.
maybe you can relate to the parent-teacher conferences, either one of you, but when I go to those and hear about how lovely my girls are in school and how they're polite all the time. They don't speak out of turn. I'm like, are we talking about the same child? You know?
I know.
Right.
I'm always like, wait. Are you reading? It should say Adeline Halford at the top of the sheet that you're reading
Right.
from. It
Right.
doesn't seem like we're talking about the same one.
Yeah. Now, my one of my favorite parent-teacher conferences was for my youngest when he was in pre-K. He's going into second grade now. We get a call and like, you need to come up and meet with the pre-K teacher. So we go in and we sit down and she goes, now, George has told all of his friends that he can say the F word at home. I
Awesome.
don't think that's appropriate. I'm like, he can't. Like his older brothers, I'm sure, will say it when he's around, but the parents don't tolerate it. It's like, well, the F word is inappropriate. I'm like, is he saying it at school? Well, no, he's not, but he's told his friends that he can, and that's inappropriate. I'm like, great, move in for a while
Right.
and see that that's not allowed. But it's, yeah, the stuff that just you're waiting for at parent teacher conferences.
I
We
don't
could
know
have a
how
podcast about that.
I don't know how teachers do it. Pam, I enjoyed spending some time with your sister actually in Quebec, who
Yeah.
is a teacher. And she kind of scared me though about third grade. She said third grade is where it gets big time and all these developmental milestones you have to watch out for, and the academics really ramp up. And of course, my oldest is going into third grade. So I got all the tips from your sister.
Good. She is the scary teacher at her school, which is
Mm,
so funny to me because I mean, everybody who's listening to the podcast who knows me knows that I can be a lot and a little gruff and rough around the edges sometimes. But my sister is the absolute opposite. She's the kindest, most sweet talking, gentlest little angel baby that has ever existed. But the children at her school are truly scared of her. Like she's the enforcer. So I'm glad you got some tips and tricks from, the pinnacle here.
I
yeah.
know I might need more of them too.
Yeah, absolutely. She'd be more than happy to field questions if you've got them. It was so awesome to have them in Quebec. Mike, I don't know if we've talked about this on a different podcast, but my mom and sister went with me.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know that.
to the women's event in Quebec. Yeah, so they got to meet everybody. We had a few cancellations, so they sort of jumped in for a couple of different things that we did while we were in Quebec, and so they met people, and we just had a ball with them. They loved meeting all of y'all, Taylor, and it took some of the pressure off from me having to talk to them all the time. So I was really glad.
So, which was your favorite of the three venues you went to, Taylor, for the
Uh,
women's?
well, of the venues, I thought Vail was very cool. I had never been to that area of the country, and it is so different from Virginia or Kansas or Alabama that it was beautiful. So the venue itself, I think Vail was my favorite.
Yeah, that was a great one. Those are always fantastic conferences, and they always try to put us in a real she place, Mike, so that, it fits with us. And it helps that we don't have to have a golf course.
Yeah.
When the men are involved, we've got to make sure we've got a good golf course. And with the
Ugh,
women, we
men
can
are the
go to like
worst.
a little boutique hotel. I agree. I seem
I
to
know.
always get a female guest with you, Mike, and we always seem to track towards men are the worst.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm self-aware. We are the worst.
Well, one of your ideas from the first women's I went to, Pam, was something that I take with me and I tell all of my female lawyer friends, which is to do like a spa vacation for your clients. So all the guys can take their clients out to the golf course every Friday, right? But we don't
Yeah.
have something comparable. And so why not have everybody get together and go to a beach with a spa for a weekend? And I just thought that was a very fun idea.
Yes, it is a fun idea and has worked out swimmingly so far. In fact, a client and I today, this morning, we're going to go on a hike and then go to the spa before we start our sessions in Napa. So it's a model that I follow routinely, Taylor.
Nice.
Well, Taylor,
Yeah.
thanks for being with us today. Is there any final parting words you want to leave our guests with?
Well, I think come to Virginia and practice law and enjoy the U.S. Law Network.
Love that. Well,
Thank you, Taylor. You've been great.
Thank y'all.
and thanks everyone for listening to another edition of the US Law Live podcast brought to you by US Law's corporate partners, Mike, Pam, Nick, and Jessica. We'll see you on the next episode.